Welcome back, everyone, to the Burnout Club. This is the place where we dive in and tackle burnout one expert and experiment at a time. I'm your host, Patrice Bonfilio, and I am joined today by Rishi Sadarangani. And I just want to say thank you for coming on, Rishi. This is amazing to have you. You have become a fast friend, I would say, which is very hard to come by. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Patrice. It's an honor and much reciprocated.
Yes. And just for the listeners, we met a few months back. I think it was probably summertime. We were both judges for an industry award ceremony. We were weighing in on best law firm, best technology firm for the industry. And so they sat everyone at random tables. I didn't know Rishi at all. And you never know who you're going to get, right? Like, are you going to be bored for 2 hours? Is it going to be interesting? Turns out Rishi has amazing ideas and we talked the whole time. So I expect that this conversation will be equally as interesting. And so why don't we dive into your firm, Revolution Gate? So you've started this asset manager and you are innovation focused. So can you give us a little bit about your background and also your company?
Sure, Patrice. And thank you for the kind words. And it's been some great conversation. So I appreciate that. So Revolution Gate is an innovation focused asset manager. I manage money on behalf of a few select families, ultra high net worth individuals, and business owners. And our thesis is innovation. And what we really do is build high conviction portfolios of companies in the public equity markets, so stocks of innovative companies on behalf of our clients. And we combine this with a high degree of risk control and marry it with dynamism and discipline. So what that really produces is a high-powered, innovation-focused, risk-controlled investment thesis.
And I was drawn to that investment thesis because I think there's an intersection between dealing with burnout and looking towards the future. And I think right now there is so much innovation going on. And maybe that's true of any time period, but it just seems like we're changing at light speed at the moment. So even if you or I am feeling really bogged down by the sting of burnout, refocusing on, what's happening in the future, I find sparks my curiosity, and curiosity time and time again helps pull me out of burnout. I don't know if you feel the same way. Is curiosity a cornerstone to part of what led you into dealing with innovation?
Absolutely, Patrice. So let me give you a simple example of how exciting innovation can be and how eager it makes me looking forward to visualizing the possibilities. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when I was growing up, when I was a kid, and I'm dating myself here, we had rotary phones. Okay.
Yes, I remember those.
You remember that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And just think of the complexity. If I was in Mumbai and had to call somebody in New York, okay, I would first have to use my rotary phone to call the local telephone exchange. That local telephone exchange would then have to call the telephone exchange in New York or whichever exchange serviced it, and maybe routing through intermediaries. Mm-hmm. That telephone exchange would then have to reach out. Suppose I was trying to reach you, would have to reach out to you to determine your availability to accept my call. And the whole process was so inefficient, could take hours, days, sometimes, in order for me to have a conversation with you across continents. Mm-hmm. Okay. That was when the first PCs were just coming online, were just coming onto the market. And Moore's law of computing capacity doubling every 18 months in chips was kicking in. Okay. So fast forward to today, the cumulative effect of that computing increase, rapid increase in computing capacity, means that we are carrying supercomputers in our pockets, and communication is second nature across the world. Okay. So now we are on the precipice of even more rapid change. Just imagining the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have these large language models that are increasing in iteration. In every iteration, they're increasing in 5 to 10 times capacity. So they're 5 to 10 times more powerful with each iteration. And I'm not sure that pace of change is going to continue, but nonetheless, the pace of change is just accelerating relative to what it was when we started out in the 80s. And the cumulative effect of that is just going to be mind-boggling, okay, something that we haven't visualized before. And the human mind is unable to process this kind of change and visualize its cumulative impacts. And that's what makes this so exciting. It's wanting to get out there into the future, imagine the possibilities, wake up every day feeling energized, refreshed, thinking of what can be. And that's what drives the excitement, the forward view, and I think helps avoid burnout or keep one focused on one's A game.
I see what you're saying. I might try that where I ask myself, what is possible? I don't think I say that to myself in the morning. And maybe if I was, the founder of a firm that's investing in innovative stocks, maybe I would. But I'm going to pepper that in to how I think about the world. Because I think I have to kind of get myself into that mindset and then I really enjoy it. But maybe if it's just a bit more fluid throughout my day, that can help me a lot. So I think about this sector or topic, and it seems massive. How do you kind of pick which areas of innovation are either the most impactful or of the most interest to you when you're deciding where to actually invest?
Great question, Patrice. And I like to focus my investment thesis on what I call the THC sectors. Okay. T being technology, H being healthcare, and C being consumer. Okay. These sectors historically and going forward are breeding grounds for innovation. They're large sectors with global impacts and have wide applications and implications throughout society. Okay. So when you think about technology, okay, and its transformative impact, it really is the foundational layer for all the innovation that happens. But there are areas in technology that I think have great promise. Apart from AI, AI is going to, of course, cross over and transform entire industries, create new industries. But apart from AI, there are other areas that I think have great potential. For example, the metaverse, okay, which combines the physical and digital immersive realities. I think that is one area that is going to really be huge going forward, doesn't get the kind of attention that it deserves. So, for example, that's one area.
Yeah. Wait, I just wanted to say, I started hearing so much about this maybe 2-3 years ago about the metaverse. And, I was trying to, look up a lot of things about it and understand where I fit in and, if our business fit in. And then I think the conversation around AI just overtook it. So you're saying it's still really an area that should be paid attention to, it seems like. And there could be some good investing opportunities there.
Absolutely. And in fact, some months back, I was talking to the owner of the Arizona Coyotes, one of the sports teams. And he was talking about how the metaverse is playing such an important role in terms of how sports teams and sports franchises think about their future and how to get their fans more engaged, how to tap wider audiences. And so that's one example, I think, of the wide societal impacts that the metaverse is going to have. There are other areas too, such as Web 3.0, which is blockchain and its applications. And again, Patrice, to your point, AI is also going to feed in and enable some of
Right.
these areas, but these areas are going to develop, I think, spectacularly in the coming decades.
I have a question for you on the 3.0. So I am definitely a newbie to thinking about it, but I was prompted to, I don't know if domain is the right terminology, but like you can buy a domain on Web 3.0. Is that something that people are doing or you can do?
I think so. I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is certainly an area that, apart from many others, where you can definitely exploit or
Mm-hmm.
take advantage or participate in that Web 3.0 revolution.
Yeah,
Uh, but the decentralized web and its applications across myriad industries is already proving transformational. And then let me switch gears a little bit to healthcare
mm.
and talk about the impacts of, for instance, healthcare's cutting edge. Okay, areas like personalized medicine.
Mm.
Okay, where you have cell and gene therapies really starting to make transformational impacts in treating tough diseases such as oncology, cancer related diseases, as well as rare diseases afflicting
Mm-hmm.
small segments, severe diseases affecting small segments of the population.
Definitely.
Then there is within healthcare, you have the brain and neurological conditions. That's a black box and the next frontier. Very little is understood and known about the brain, but treatments for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, addictions,
Mm.
and other neurological related diseases is also an area of great promise. In fact, we are starting to see GLP-1s, the weight loss drugs,
Mm-hmm.
being used to also treat some of these diseases, or research being done in their applications to treat neurological conditions.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have AI and its impact in terms of drug discovery and AI first companies that has huge, exciting potential.
I like the way you walk through it all because, well, I think the listeners know by now, but Source is very healthcare focused, right? So biotech and pharma. So thinking about diseases being cured, therapies being created to help people's quality of life, that's just a huge piece of innovation that will never go away. So it's always, I think, smart to have that in the portfolio. So another thing I really thought was interesting about how you approach your firm is the deep dives that you do. So can you talk a little bit about the trip you took to Poland? I just think this is a fantastic way to actually be on the ground and develop your ideas for the portfolio.
So great question, Patrice. And you touched upon something very near and dear to my heart, one of my passions, which is travel.
Mm.
And I have thus far, both my wife and I are avid travelers. We love exploring the world. We have traveled to over 54 countries.
That's a
Okay.
lot.
Uh,
I think that's a certain status. I think I have maybe 15 under my belt. That's it.
so we devour the experiences and getting to know the world, determining countries, histories, potential, people, how they think, how they live, their customs, their cuisines, their innovative mindsets. It's all part of the mosaic with which we look at the world.
Mm.
And one of the things I do when I travel is always try to assess the innovation impact, the innovation potential, innovation mindset in every country, in every society. And a couple of months ago, I was in Poland and traveled the breadth of the country, starting in the north on the Baltic Sea, visiting the Tri-City area of Gdansk, Gdynia, and Sopot. And then we made our way to the center of the country where the capital is, Warsaw,
Mm-hmm.
and finally ended up in Krakow, which is the cultural capital of Poland.
Mm-hmm.
And Poland is a country that's not as much on the map in terms of innovation or in terms of being cutting edge. But what I saw was really surprised me. And I saw a country that is moving up the innovation rankings and where the innovative spirit and mindset was very vivid and present.
Mm.
And historically, this country has had a very turbulent history. Okay. It's been taken over at different times by the great European powers. For a time, it vanished off the scene. But the Polish people have displayed great resilience over the centuries. And I think now a country is really poised to emerge on the world map, given that they sit under the NATO security blanket. Now they're part of the EU. And the country now has the necessary conditions in place to really flourish and emerge and take its rightful place on the world map. And that's the sense I got traveling the breadth of the country. And there were various areas that I can talk more about where I saw that innovation very clearly displayed. So that's the kind of mindset and what I look for when I travel.
I love the term innovation mindset. I don't know if you coined that, but that's an interesting term. And it was also interesting when I found out that you had done this whole trip to Poland. I was also researching Poland just to compare, the FDA process that we have in the States with their process that they have, because it is a bit more expedited, and just looking to see if there were areas that we could maybe copy over in the States. So yeah, for some reason we were both kind of looking at Poland at the same time. That might be a green light moment. But how would you compare, let's say, that experience in Poland with the innovation mindset that you see in other countries? Like, are there other countries that are maybe onto something that we should begin adopting here, or even as individuals, a kind of spirit of innovation that we should copy?
That's a very thoughtful and a great question, Patrice. Very insightful question. I think that when you travel to countries that are more developed in terms of their innovation infrastructure, their innovation ecosystems, whether it's, if you could travel to the Nordic countries or you travel to the UK. Okay. And I think the UK has, on a per capita basis, more Nobel Prize winners, about the same Nobel Prize winners as the United States. So they are also a very innovative economy, Switzerland, right. Germany, or Japan, for instance. I think the difference is that in a country like Poland, there is a great desire to want to move up the innovation ecosystem. Okay, these are countries that are more middle innovation, middle income focused. They're in that category. They have already become well known, as you said. So Poland is well known for clinical trials, for instance. A lot of European drug pharma companies, biotech companies do clinical trials there in Poland because of the expedited, as you said, process. A lot of companies have outsourced operations in terms of technology in Poland, already established a basic infrastructure for development. And it's now a question of moving up the innovation ecosystem, the innovation chain, to try and really catch up or take their place or take up in the more innovative economies, the ecosystems, because with that comes greater growth, prosperity, respect in the world, and all of that. And I think that the learning from that is that from a country like that, which is trying rapidly to move up, is the innovative spirit, the mindset of the folks, their hunger, their desire to really want to climb the innovation ladder, if you will. And I think that's something to learn. The focus on STEM, education, the focus on really pursuing research, developing their, the universities, using, enabling the university commercial capital partnerships. I think there is a very strong recognition, acknowledgement, desire on their part and to want to collaborate with the more innovative economies and companies and individuals to really facilitate that ecosystem within their societies.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. So you just finished up this trip. Do you have a next trip in mind, or just something that you're excited about for the future? Maybe there is an innovation, but it's not yet at the stage where you would invest. So kind of future thinking question.
Yeah, so before I'll answer that question shortly, Patrice, I just want to also qualify that after Poland, I also happened to be in India. Okay, I made a trip to India, another country. And let me just give you what's happening in India, why India is also right now a very dynamic center of economic activity, and why India is another country that's trying to climb up the innovation ecosystem, the innovation rankings. So I was in India for about 10 days, after my Poland trip. And within those 10 days, we had a trip where we had the German Chancellor visiting, while I was there. And India and Germany signed a whole bunch of trade deals and deals for, again, economic, technological cooperation. And as soon as he left, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, came to India to host or to be the star at a couple of AI summits that were being held. And he received rock star treatment in India. And they announced a joint venture with some Indian companies while he was there, and they're getting more involved with India. And he talked about the great potential, the data intensity of a country like India, and how the country can harness it to go from a outsourced, low-cost economy to more of an innovation-focused economy. And as soon as he departed, the Spanish Prime Minister came to India to open up an Airbus aircraft assembly plant in India. So it all happened in very rapid succession in the period of 10 days, and all these visits got a lot of attention in the media. So again, to highlight, in terms of the next trip, and I wanted to preamble that again, it's this innovation mindset focus. And with that, I think the next trip is going to be one of the Nordic countries. Sweden and Norway are top of the list. Again, more developed on the the innovation side. That would be very interesting to see, how they're doing things, what learnings they can be, and what companies and interesting ideas might emerge from that.
I have to figure out a way to go on these trips. I'm getting a travel bug talking to you. So, this is very invigorating, talking about the innovation. And then, it's not just the common major players. You have so many countries, right, like India and Poland, that are rising through the ranks, which will drive innovation even more. So that leaves a lot to do on your plate, right? A lot to review, a lot of decisions. So as an individual, how do you manage it? Like how are you dealing with the burnout? Because it is a high pressure industry, even though you're in a very optimistic part of the space. So, is it travel? Is it something else? Is it a combination of things? What works for you to really spark the joy and reinvigorate you?
Another great question, Patrice. And I will say your questions are very thoughtful and
you're so nice.
No. What really gets me excited every day is the relationships that I have with the people I serve. So whether it's these families, these individuals, ultra high net worth individuals who are very accomplished, who've done a lot of very cool, interesting things, and these business owners. And again, that's one of the best things of what I do. It's these invigorating conversations with very interesting people, accomplished people who share this innovation first mindset, who are also interested in understanding how the world is evolving. And we have such rich engagement and conversations. And that is a very motivating factor, knowing that there's something bigger out there beyond you, being of
Mhm.
service, being of value to these individuals, to this community, being part of this ecosystem, and just seeing the energy. So, for instance, last evening I was at a great event featuring this great design thinker, Debbie Moman.
Mm.
She hosts this podcast, Design Matters podcast, and she's written several books. Again, on interviewed a lot of creative people, and she's a professor. So it's engaging with these kind of individuals, and really they're also, and people who are different, who've got energy, who have different personalities, who don't fit the mold. And it's so great. That is so invigorating, and that keeps me going
Mhm.
every day. And I think also the just the nature, keeping up with the world, traveling. So for instance, I'm now going to spend the majority, the back half of the month in Miami,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
working remotely from there. But it's just invigorating being in a different part of the world, and seeing different people and cultures, and how the world is moving from their perspective. So I think, to answer your question, it's the human element
Mm.
and how that intersects with innovation, and the value and the service you can provide, and the transformation it brings in people's lives and in societies and in the world. I think you know that's what is great about waking up every morning and looking forward to a different day.
I love the way you articulated it, because if you asked me 10 years ago, would I ever enjoy talking to somewhat random people about subject matters that really interest them, that maybe don't have any sort of practical implication to my life? I would say absolutely not. I'm introverted to begin with, and I'm insanely busy. So that concept was just not on my radar whatsoever. But now that I'm actually doing it, and just beyond the podcast, like, even in my everyday life, talking to people that are energized about what they do and what they are focused on, like what you're saying, I think that's the key, right? Energized people energize me. So whether they're talking about, critical metals, or, a trip through India about innovation, or anything, like, that's just refreshing. It's just nice to hear someone talk about something passionately. So I'm on that train with you. I think it's very healthy for the mind.
Great. And I think, Patrice, you bring up some excellent points there again. And I want to say that in terms of avoiding burnout, okay, a theme you've come back to a couple of occasions, I would say that I focus on maintaining. I flip that around to say that I maintain my A game. And the minute, and these are all things that I do, or that energize me to keep up my A game.
Yeah.
The minute I start slipping, I refocus, and try to re-energize, and reprioritize, to again ensure that the A game never slips. Okay. And our tagline for our firm, Revolution Gate, is revolution through relentless evolution.
Mm.
So keeping and ensuring that relentless evolution is key. And another piece of maintaining that A game, as you said, and thereby avoiding burnout, is the appreciation and the gratitude for the innovation ecosystem and the innovation resources we have in this great country of ours. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that itself is also very energizing. So when you recognize what countries like Poland and India are trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
and who they're trying to catch up to, or who they look to for inspiration, and recognizing that it's here,
Yeah.
and appreciating that is another big piece of staying energized.
That's great. We all have to be like you, stay on our A game, right?
Yeah.
Relentless evolution. I'll make you a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah, that's it. Or mug. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll start with the mug. Well, Rishi, thank you so much for joining us. I loved everything that you walked us through. Why don't you just tell everyone how they can reach you if they have more questions about Revolution Gate or your journeys or innovation?
Thank you, Patrice. It's an honor to be on your show, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. For viewers who want to reach out, it's simple. I'm on LinkedIn. You can connect with me there. My email, which is rishi, rishi at revolutiongate.com, all one word, is another way to reach out. And the best way and the most effective way is you can reach out to Patrice too. If you're, if you know her and are in her chain of relationships, contacts, and she can also put you in touch with me. So
Yeah,
those are
I'll make
all.
it happen.
Yeah, that's great. It's been a real honor, Patrice. Thank you very much. This was a great conversation, and I really enjoyed and felt very much at ease with your engaging, comfortable style. And
Thank you.
it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you were fantastic. I really loved the session. So thank you, and everyone, make sure you follow and subscribe to the Burnout Club. Have a great day. Bye.